Welcome to my Days of Our Lives official. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. According to the spoilers for Days of Our Lives, Chad Dimura was waiting for the technician to provide updates while gazing at the film of the mysterious lady and driving himself insane. Since Julie Williams was the last person to see Abigail Dimura alive, Julie finally persuaded Chad to speak with Kayla Johnson and get some information about her. After laying everything out for Kayla in her office, Chad begged to keep everything between them and gave her the video. Kayla agreed with Chad that miracles are highly likely to occur in Salem and understood why Chad couldn't discount Clyde Weston's claims. Kayla admitted that there were medications that may assist imitate death, but she was keeping an open mind. Nevertheless, Kayla was also aware that a thorough autopsy had not been carried out and that Abigail's corpse had been sent to the morgue. Kayla stated there was only one way to be certain if any of it really occurred after discussing the embalming and all the arrangements that would have needed to be made at the funeral home. When Abby Carver attempted to watch Body and Soul, Paulina Price was with him at home. Though it wasn't on at the scheduled time, Abby was perplexed and finally surmised that it had been canceled for news coverage of the 4th of July. Later on, Kate Roberts Brady disclosed that it had been canceled in its place. However, she recommended that instead of beginning a soap opera from scratch, they might attempt to get the rights to Body and Soul. Stephanie Johnson met with Paulina for a PR strategy session after persuading Jada Hunter to talk with Robert Bobby Stain, alias Everett Lynch, at Bayview. Stephanie acknowledged that there was fresh criticism in the town square on Wednesday's episode of Days after Paulina dismissed Melinda Trask and hired E.J. Dinero once again. Stephanie clarified that Paulina's decision to trade a woman of color for a wealthy white guy had injured many, but Paulina countered that Melinda had been implicated in the baby theft. Stephanie said Paulina should embrace the developments by highlighting EJ as the ideal candidate for the DA position since EJ's conflict of interest had also been cleared. In line of this, there was discussion on holding a press conference in order to showcase and glorify EJ's handling of Gabi Hernandez Dimura's, Sherry Jimenez, case and make him seem heroic. After Paulina had some time to herself, Chad appeared, begging for a favor and making hints that he was desperate. Chad said that he needed Paulina's okay to exhume Abigail's remains after she pushed him to make the request. On Wednesday's episode of Days, Bobby hid his medication at Bayview rather of taking it, so he was happily surprised when Jada showed up. Bobby thought that they might reconcile, but he soon learned that Jada just wanted him to release Everett. Bobby gave Jada a hard time before the situation took an interesting turn. Jada questioned if Bobby had really committed the crime when he made hints that he might assist her in solving it. Bobby acknowledged that this entailed solving a murder, but he was reticent to provide more. When Jada persisted in wanting to know the victim's identity, Bobby invited her to return tomorrow so they could continue their conversation and seemed happy with himself. During Wednesday's DOL program, Steve Johnson visited Marlena Evans at her home and discussed his legal problem with her. Steve gave Marlena the assurance that she lacked proof, even if Jada didn't believe her narrative. Since Steve wanted to keep Ava Vitale and John Black out of this, he didn't want Marlena to fall for any bluffs Jada may make. Marlena said that she didn't anticipate John's trip to Greece going as long as it did, and she felt his messages were brief. Marlena became concerned that John was avoiding returning home out of fear that he might attempt to harm Steve. Steve discovered that John's programming had been activated once again, but he chose not to pull the trigger. Steve was told he couldn't break his bail by Marlena, despite his desire to go to Greece and assist John communication with Justin Kyriakis to finalize the plea agreement. Steve informed Marlena that he would be receiving a suspended sentence and 100 hours of community service on Wednesday's episode of Days. That meant Steve could really get out of town, and he subsequently shared his intentions to go to Greece with Kayla and gave her the good news about not going to jail. Stay tuned for more predictions on all the secrets that will be revealed, as spoilers for Days of Our Lives indicate that Steve should be in for some shocks when he gets to Greece. The spoilers for daytime soap opera Days of Our Lives indicate that Paulina Price pleaded with Kayla Johnson to examine Channel Demara's test results and determine the precise reason of her loss. Channel confided in Johnny Demara that she had a joyful baby shower dream until she realized she would never get to see her kid when she woke up. Channel was comforted by Johnny, who then answered a call from Petian Russo, who had to replace Johnny on the set of his film. Johnny wanted to stay close to Channel in Salem, even though Channel hoped he would be able to join the production in the future. Later, despite Channel's icy mood, Johnny pushed her out in a wheelchair, and they both ran into Paulina, who professed her profound apologies. Eventually, Kayla turned up with updates based on the test findings Channel had received, revealing that she had experienced a partial molar pregnancy. Given that Channel's pregnancy was unviable from the start, she sprang into Paulina's arms and expressed regret for having previously placed the blame on her. Following Channel's loss, Kate Roberts Brady informed Abby Carver of her sorrow and brought Paulina some flowers on Tuesday's episode of Days. In addition, Kate said that she was considering returning to the television production industry and specifically wanted to work on written content, and she wanted to discuss this with Abby about their possible business partnership. After admitting to being addicted to Body and Soul, Abby showed Kate a few episodes to pique her curiosity. Abby countered that people had been stating soap operas were a fading genre for years, despite Kate's hearing to the contrary. Although Kate agreed that they should do study before launching a new soap opera, she did not oppose the notion. Later in the pub, Kate discussed this potential soap opera plot with Kayla before receiving some bad news. Kate knew Abby would lose his mind the moment she learned that Body and Soul had been canceled. He returned to the Demara residence with Johnny, where he held Channel, and proceeded to console her. On Tuesday's episode of Days, Marlena Evans called Stephanie Johnson at her townhouse and said that Robert Bobby Stain was still refusing to allow Everett Lynch go. Stephanie agreed to assist if she could, since Marlena felt it would be beneficial to have someone who knew Everett attempt to get in touch with him. During Tuesday's DOL concert at Bayview, Bobby instructed Marlena and Stephanie to leave. Bobby made it plain that he was still shielding Everett, just as he had done for years, despite Stephanie's persistent attempts to speak with him. Bobby proposed that maybe they might get Stephanie a room at Bayview next when she lost her temper and exploded at him. Though Marlena believed Stephanie should go, she hoped Bobby would see he was approaching this in the wrong way. Bobby assured Stephanie and Marlena that he would never allow Everett to go back out. Steve Johnson arrived to the Salem Police Department after Jada Hunter, Elia Cantu, indicated that she needed to see him. Jada said that because Steve had admitted to a crime, she was forced to charge him with a felony. Steve was still optimistic that Justin Kyriakis would reach a plea agreement, but Jada cautioned him that if it didn't work out, he may have to spend up to 5 years in jail. Jada became irate with Steve after he made his testimony about Clyde Weston's escape in the interrogation room, since she could see he wasn't telling her the complete truth. Jada had a suspicion that Steve was guarding Ava Vitali and perhaps John Black, Drake Hodgson, but that was all she knew. Prior to his bond hearing, which Justin was able to expect, Steve and Jada had an embrace after his arrest on Tuesday's edition of Days. At last, Stephanie located Jada and pleaded with her to see Bobby because, if she didn't, Everett may be gone forever. Days of Our Lives spoilers indicate that Jada will move to Bayview shortly, so stay tuned for more Bobby drama predictions. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, So please don't forget to subscribe my channel and don't miss any update.